I didn't put my partner name on our baby's birth certificate. Hi, I've never posted on here before, but I'm just looking for some advice. Here's some context for the situation. I 27F and my boyfriend 28M have recently had a baby together born 20th of October 2023. However, we don't currently live together as we are trying to save up for our forever home. Now this is where I need some advice. I have recently booked a time slot to get our baby registered, and as soon as I did it I told my boyfriend/baby daddy to let him know of the time and date. On the day of, I had texted my boyfriend in the morning reminding him of the time and letting him know that he should probably come and get me straight after he finishes work as it will be tight with time. I didn't get a reply all day, but I assumed he must have skipped his lunch and been busy with work. As it's getting closer to the time and an hour after he had finished work, I was ready and waiting with our baby to be picked up. However, he never turned up, so 30 minutes before the appointment I got in my car and drove there myself. I had been freaking out and frantically texting him while in the waiting area. He never turned up or replied, so I went in and did it alone. However, I did not know that he needed to be there with me to get his name on the birth certificate, and I could not do it for him. When I got home I felt pretty hurt that he couldn't be bothered to turn up for something as important as this, and the next day after he had finished work he came over to see me and our baby girl. I found out that the day before his mom had called and he had gone over to hers and had a bit too much to drink after work, and he fell asleep really early at his mom's house. He never asked about the birth certificate or even said sorry, so I just left it assuming he didn't care anyway, but now he has seen it and is mad at me for not putting his name on it. I explained that I couldn't and he needed to be there himself to do it, but instead chose to get drunk with his mummy, and now he is asking to redo it with his name on it. So do you think I should redo it with his name on the birth certificate? Comment. This is the answer. It'll save you a lot of time getting child support versus having to establish paternity, forcing a test, giving him time to find an under-the-table job. It'll also avoid such classic fights like, "I'm not the dad, I'm not on the birth certificate," and more. The only reason I would agree to do it is cause in a couple more years when you are finally sick of his shit and dump him, you'll then have to go after him for child support, which will be easier to do with his name down as the father. You should really be thinking about what just happened and how much your child, yourself, and the relationship actually mean to him. You're about to be a single mom in a relationship. Or maybe because it was years ago, there's not really any place that would do that anymore. Some states will accept the birth certificate and voluntary paternity form, others will require a court-ordered DNA test regardless. But they won't put someone on the hook of child support without proof of being the father anymore. Unless they're married, in which case they're automatically on the birth certificate. Story 2. How do I tell my friend that she's the reason I won't go swimming with the friend group? Like the title says, a woman in my friend group who's the eldest of the group, said some pretty hurtful things to me about my body, and now I don't feel comfortable being in my swimwear near her. We are all a bit overweight in some way, but both of us are obese. I feel at a loss here, since they all are my very good and close friends. Sorry if this gets a bit long. About a week ago, the friend in question suddenly said, "Do me a favor and throw away your green trousers." It was very out of context and in the middle of three of us just sitting together and knitting. I asked her what she meant and if she could be specific, since I have more than one pair that are green. She said she didn't know which one, except they made my ass look huge and saggy, and when I had bent down, they had slipped a bit, so I had to pull them up. Said they didn't work for someone who is your large size. I said I had an idea which pair she meant and that I usually only wear them at home, but had worn them one night out to the knitting club, as my washer had broken and they were the only ones left clean. Note, some people show up in their 90s for this. She then said, "Your ass is too fat for them, so throw them away." I got a bit defensive and said I can't just go around throwing clothes away, but I'll try not to wear them outside the house again. The other friend present said she had many pairs she only wear at home and admitted to being one of the people who would wear nighties at the club gatherings on occasions. The talk then diverted into how some might be okay with wearing comfort clothes to club gatherings while others aren't, and that's okay. I really figured that was it. But as I was leaving and bent down to tie my shoes, F52 pulled up my sweater and looked at my butt with a big grin and said, "Oh, don't worry, I just had to check your crack wasn't showing in these trousers," and then added, "Your good thought, they keep your wide butt inside." I felt very humiliated, but couldn't come up with a reply. Now there's a standing open invitation for all of us to go swimming together on Fridays and Sundays. I don't feel like showing any part of my body near F52 at the moment, so I cancelled for this week. The others found it odd that I didn't want to go, but didn't pester me for reasons. I know that if I single out F52 and the things she said as the reason I don't want to go, then I'll be told I'm making a big deal out of things and can't take constructive criticism. I know this, since the group used to have one more member who didn't take well to constructive criticism of her knitting. The others thought she was just being dramatic and couldn't handle friendly help. Is there a way to explain that I don't like it, when someone points out my bodily flaws, without necessarily pointing fingers? Or is the only way out to set clear boundaries and then just accept the outcome whatever it may be? Comment. These women sound horrible. What are you doing with a friend group that bullies you? I was horrified reading your post. You let her get away with murder. I would have stopped her after the first few words. Sadly no one spoke up for you, and now you say you fear another so-called friend will add to this bullying. You don't seem to realize this is abuse. Literally a precise definition of the phrase, if you have friends like this, you don't need enemies. I'd see a therapist and stay away from them until you can regain your sense of balance. Sorry. The two you referred to are not your friends. Not sure about the rest, but it's also a crapshoot with them. When reflecting on these situations, I'd ask yourself, would I ever say this to someone? If not, why not? Because you know it would hurt their feelings? If that's the case, why would it be okay for someone who claims to be a friend to say hurtful things to you? I'd work on trusting your own feelings more. You don't strike me as the overreacting type, and in this situation you severely underreacted, so give yourself the benefit of the doubt as much as you do other people. OMG, sorry but your friends are kinda insecure losers. Like constructive criticism is such a typical excuse for people who are bitter about themselves and use throwing others under the bus to feel better about themselves. Kinda makes me wanna go, why are you so obsessed with butts? That's kinda creepy. On this woman in a mean B** kinda way. But honestly, if these people are okay with making others feel down in the name of helping people grow, they aren't really good friends, especially because they don't own the truth. Like people even wrote songs about big fat butts, so I guess it's a matter of taste? Don't feel bad about rocking that ass since it doesn't exist to please them. She's probably projecting how overly insecure she is about her own sagging. Yeah, honestly you'll find these people everywhere, and mostly they are women, but they're not a woman's gal, if that makes sense. Most women are usually really good people that want to raise other women up. It's just sometimes when they compliment it can feel backhanded because we are so used to friends doing and saying these nasty things to us. It's natural for our body weight to fluctuate. It's also something people have very little control over, especially with medical issues. Really hope you don't let these people get to you. You sound perfect as you are, and those people can go lick rocks. Do you, and do what makes you feel happiest, safest, and comfiest. I have two, one I speak to more regularly, and both are super supportive, which I'm thankful for, but that's how friends are meant to be. Story 3. I stopped my partner on the stairs and he says I'm emotionally abusive and is breaking up with me. This morning my partner gaslit me after trying to tell me they didn't say something they clearly did. We argued over it and I realized we have a camera pointing to our front door in the room which would have recorded the conversation. I'm not the primary account holder for the app, so as he was coming downstairs I was going up and asked him to show me how to download the files. I held out my phone, it's old and slow, and pressed the buttons too fast so it froze for a couple of seconds. When he handed it back to me it had opened to the correct screen, but he told me to move out of his way. I said no and held the phone out again, asking him to show me how to do it. He got frustrated, but ultimately he took the phone, pressed some more buttons, then told me it would only work on his phone. I turned around and walked back down the stairs asking him to send it to me. He said what I did, blocking his way downstairs because I was standing on the stairs, was abusive, told me not to contact him, we live together, and are both at home during the day, etc. Ultimately I proved he lied/gaslit me. He has been telling me all day that I'm abusive for blocking his way. He has tried to get me to admit that it's abuse and told me that he is breaking up with me if I don't admit it. In case anyone is wondering, I never touched him. I am also much smaller. I was simply standing in front of him. The whole interaction probably took 30 seconds tops. I feel like I'm going crazy. Am I abusive? I admit it wasn't nice, but there are 4 rooms upstairs, and I was asking for help with something calmly. Edit. Thank you for everyone who has answered. I appreciate all the comments, even the ones that say I'm the one in the wrong. There is a lot for me to think about. I'm quite overwhelmed right now and I can't answer everyone, but I wanted to say that there is one question that keeps coming up. I won't say what he originally lied about. I don't think it's fair, as I feel without a lot of context it would paint him in a very negative light. We have been together for 6.5 years and are engaged. This argument is inextricably tied to our history and isn't easily explained within the word count. Because I won't admit to him that I am an abuser, he has broken up with me. He has asked I stay in the spare room. I've not put up any fight about it. It looks like this is the end. Comment. Ya like what's the best cast scenario OP is hoping for here? She figures out how to get video footage, proves he's a liar. He admits he's an asshole, and gaslighting her, he promises to change, begs for forgiveness, starts going to therapy, never lies again, and they live happily ever after. Edit. I'm not implying OP is at fault, or she shouldn't have recorded the interaction. But her comments sound like she is trying to fix the relationship. She needs to realize this guy is an abusive asshole, and there is no fixing this. This is exactly it. Gaslighting messes with your perception of reality. Getting an outside perspective is often helpful, and why abusers usually isolate their target. I can understand wanting to make sure of what I think I am perceiving before committing to a big decision such as leaving a relationship. Please break up. You both need individual therapy before pursuing a relationship. How he acted wasn't right, but blocking someone physically until they give in to your demand is also not right. Invest time and effort in yourself. Okay, this whole relationship seems toxic. He may or may not have said something and you are choosing to be right by getting evidence and proving it. Is it really worth it? You need to pick your battles, and 95% of the time showing proof is more about wanting to be right than anything else. It is not healthy to constantly need to prove you are right and the other person is wrong. You are 100% wrong for preventing him from walking down the stairs, and abuse is not always physical assault. You're both clearly more concerned about being right in situations and feed off each other's toxicity.